Hello, team. Welcome to our third grammar point of the season. And I always talk about the importance of asking questions. And so I think it is fair that I show you the mechanics behind asking questions. And they really fall into two categories, which are yes and no questions, open questions. I will go over two more topics that are interesting if you find the first one's easy. But what we are going over today are the various forms in which you can structure the question. And I started off with a little warm up video. This is Chris Voss. I can't recommend him enough. He has a lot of cool stuff, specifically about negotiation, but he has a lot of content about asking questions. So that is a quick video about how to ask the right questions. Also about negative yes questions. Instead of saying, do you agree? The person would agree with yes. You would say, do you disagree? It makes the person think a little more about their answer and it might help you lead them where you want to go. So that is a quick trick that he teaches. Watch the video for all the details. And we're going to be seeing how to construct questions. And the first ones that we have to see are yes and no questions. And for my Brazilian students, I know sometimes this can be a little strange because in Portuguese, we just change the tone of our voice. It would be the equivalent of you like sushi, affirmative, and you like sushi. We kind of have that lilt where we raise our voice to signal it's a question. In English, we need an auxiliary. And the reasoning behind this is that English comes from Germanic language, and I'm going to add a little bit of my opinion. Germanic people are very practical, so they try to give you as much information from the beginning as possible. So if I see a sentence that starts with do, unless it's like the imperative, do your homework, two things. For one, it's a question, and not only that, it's a question that can either be answered with a yes or a no. So all of these auxiliary verbs, to be and do, are the first ones we see. And we were introduced to have. All its variations have, has, had. It's the past perfect. But we also have our modal verbs. We have may, we have can, could, should, would. All of these, if a sentence starts with them, you know it's a question that can be answered with yes or no. And the auxiliary verb is also the tag you will use. In real life, you can just answer yes, no. You can even just go like this with your head. But for English practice, I recommend kind of extending your answer. So, is she hungry? Yes, she is. No, she isn't. You will always use this first word in your answer. Does she like pancakes? Yes, she does. No, she doesn't. Can we watch TV? Yes, you can. No, you can't. So you will always use that first word in your answer. The exceptions are to be, because we have more variations. If I ask you, are you Brazilian? You will say, yes, I am. Not, yes, I are. And the same thing with past. Were you at home? Yes, I was. No, I wasn't. So we have these variations, but in general, we're just going to repeat that first word back, either with the yes, the affirmative, or no with the not at the end. So we have some questions here, and this is the base, like right at the foundation, middle of any question. Auxiliary in front of the subject. So you like chocolate would be an affirmative, but since we don't have an auxiliary verb in the sentence, we add do. Do is the substitute place. Like, oh, pick me, pick me, pick me. So if the sentence doesn't have an auxiliary, there's no to be, if there's no modal verb like will, can, would, then you'll add do. Okay. It's appropriate form, do in the present, does in the third person singular. I always say the gossip S for Serena. I'm talking about he, she, Mario, Luigi, the traffic, the president, the dog. If I'm talking about somebody else, there's going to be that S. So does, third singular, did in the past. So to practice, ask 3 yes or no questions to a partner. You can play some 20 questions, a game that I've enjoyed playing with my students. It's a great way to practice this. And from then, we can go right into the WH and how questions. And not all questions can be answered with yes or no. Now, where do you live? Yes. And you should know right from the beginning what the person is looking for. So I always tell my students, don't translate these words. Instead of translating who as like quem would be the equivalent in Portuguese, remember what you are looking for. Why? This is a mental exercise that will remove as many possible options in your mind. What do I want? When you hear the word who, you should know that the answer is not tomato. Unless somebody's parents were really mean and they named their son Tomato, Little Tomato Jr. after his father, you should know that who you are looking for a person. That eliminates 99% of the answers on the planet. So when I say what, you automatically know it's a thing. In this case, I'm not looking for Luigi. I'm looking for a thing, even if it's not a physical. It can be love. It can be traffic. So it does not have to be a physical thing. But when I say where, I know you're looking for a location, for a place. So this is to help your brain reduce the possible answers. And the best way to kind of automatize this is to make a cheat sheet. What do I mean by this? It's the simplest question possible with each of these words. So who's your mother? Who's your best friend? Who is the funniest person you know? Make a simple question for each. Where do you live? Where are you from? Where were you born? What is your favorite food? What do you do? What do you like to watch on TV? So you think of a quick question for each of these to use as a reference. And most people know who, where, when, and I'm going to separate what from which. Good news, especially native speakers, they mix this up a lot, but I expect more from you. And the idea is that what you are looking for a thing, even if it's not a physical thing, and with which you are picking between two options. I like to give the ice cream example. I can say, what is your favorite ice cream? It's like Harry Potter. Maybe you like bean flavored ice cream. There's no wrong answer. Maybe you like shoe flavored ice cream. Because what is an open question? But with which, it's like you go to the ice cream store. You say, which do you want? And they only have chocolate, vanilla, and strawberry and pistachio. So you have to pick one of those four. So it can be a large quantity of options, but you can't make something up with which. Why? My favorite for English practice. You get some great answers with a simple why. How? How's an interesting one because we have two distinct uses for how. First use for how. I think everybody hears it on the first day of English class. How are you? So you're asking the manner in which something happens. How do you fix this? How do you install the modem? How do you reset the internet? So you're asking the way something is done. But when we add an adjective, any adjective, you're asking for a quantity. Imagine that you are on a scale. Use this. So this is usually to make sure my camera, that's why you can see it's very square. But imagine it's a scale for now, from 0 to a lot, the most possible. So when I say, how old are you? I'm asking on a scale. So this is you were just born up to 120. How expensive is that car? How funny was that movie? So all of this, when you add an adjective after how, you're asking for a quantity of that adjective. Just as important as when you're looking for the manner. Whose, it's less common, but it's a normal word. It's asking the possession. You know, whose pen is this? Whose taxi? And with whom? This one, people ask me about it. I don't recommend using it. It's kind of old English, but you might see it in emails, to whom it may concern. And with who, WHO, you are looking for the subject of the sentence. Who is your favorite writer? Alexandre Dumas is my favorite writer. With whom you are asking for the object of the sentence. So, to whom were you speaking? I, the subject, was speaking to Maria. But realistically, I don't remember really hearing anybody using whom. Kind of sound like Sheldon from the Big Bang Theory. So you do not really need to use it. And if somebody says something, you can blame me. I'll accept the blame for this one. And that's it. Ask one question with each word to make sure you're comfortable. Practice answering them as well. And now I'm going to give you some bonus types of questions. The first one are choice questions, where you're given an option. Many times you'll have which, but as long as you have that or, you're giving a choice. So I know I said that all of the questions that started with auxiliary could be a yes or no, but there's always an exception. In this case, when you're giving a choice. So are you a dog person or a cat person? Maybe you're both, and you can say yes, but you're asking the person to pick. Me, John, I am a dog person. Last up, we have confirmation questions with a question tag. And there is what we call an inversion. So right here, he is from Indonesia. Indonesia, it's a statement. And then as you can see, the is in the affirmative. So we would invert it. Isn't he? But there is an even easier way to do this, which is to have a favorite tag, like right. Or one of my favorites is got it. And these words are just used for confirmation when you make a statement and want to kind of turn it into a question. All right. And here's your objective 2. Interview somebody. Ask them 5 questions. Try to use all types of questions to make sure that you're comfortable with all of them. And be genuinely curious. That's part of what makes these English practices fun, are when you pick something you want to talk about. And there's no wrong answer, except not doing it. And let me pick a good one here. I'm going to pick somebody else's. Where would you like to live for a year right now? I would like to live for a year in Japan. I have always been fascinated with their culture. They have a lot of different aspects, different details than some of the Western cultures that we're more familiar with. And except for I'm not a seafood guy, so I might end up eating some more McDonald's. But I would love to live in Japan for a year. That's my pick. And let me see, anything else? All right. Ooh, this is a good one. Why do we say how much instead of how many? So from those first English classes, many is for something that you can count. For example, how many pens and pencils do I have? 1, 2, 3. And the rule is, if you can answer with just a number, how many pens are in my hand? How many plants are in the house? How many English classes have you seen? If you can answer with just a number, 1, 2, a million, doesn't matter, it should be many. But we use much when it is something uncountable. And when buying something, that seems a little bit backwards because you're asking for a number. But it's because we don't specify the currency. So you could say, how many dollars is it? This sounds awkward, because the idea is when you say how much, the person could say it's 3 geese, it's a bag of rice, it's a bushel of wheat. And the person could kind of answer with any currency. So that's why we say how much, because you can't answer with just a number. You can't say 3. You can say $3. And your challenge, the scoop. So grab a partner, and you know where I'm going with this, and interview them about something that they're knowledgeable about. It can be their job, their hobby, their thoughts on the topic. If you have a friend who enjoys talking about some topic, whatever somebody's studying, it's a great way to learn is to teach. And something random. Some of the best classes come from these random topics. So there's no wrong answer. And bonus round, you can watch this video about how to write a good attention-grabbing title, but prepare one for your scoop. Team, that's it. Thank you very much, and I hope to see you in class.